Welcome to Jazz Time. Jazz Time is an online store that buys, sells, and trades authentic luxury watches. We make these videos so our customers can easily choose the best watch for themselves in the comfort of their own home. If you like this watch, click the link in the description below to buy it at the lowest price anywhere online. Today, I'm going to be reviewing the Rolex Sky-Dweller, reference 336934, stainless steel with Jubilee band and a green dial. I'm going to talk to you about the bezel, the case, the bracelet, the movement, try it on, and give you my thoughts. So let's start. This is the new Sky-Dweller. The reference is 336934. It replaces the older version 326934. It's only off by one digit, the 2 instead of the 3, or instead of the 3 instead of the 2, actually. Anyways, and the main difference, aside from the new dial color, which we'll get into in a bit, it also has a new movement. The rest of it actually remains the same. The case, bezel, the bracelet, the size, pretty much everything except those two things I just mentioned, the dial color as well as the new movement. So let's actually talk about this for a little bit. The case is an oyster case, and it's 42 millimeters, and it looks just like a Datejust, and some people do call this the Datejust 42. There is a Datejust 41, as well as the Datejust 36, 31, and 28, so some people just call this the Datejust 42, but I can see why Rolex did not just call this the Datejust 42. They would rather call it the Sky-Dweller, because Datejust 42, it's not really a sexy name. But the Sky-Dweller, now that's a sexy name. So this watch is, you can look at it as an extension of the Datejust line. Why? Well, it has the exact same case. It's just 1 millimeter bigger, 42 instead of 41, but the rest is the same, the bezel, the bracelet, everything else. Now, the movement is more complicated, and it makes sense because the watch is a bit larger. It can hold a more complicated movement. It's thicker, and it's also bigger, so it can hold all that extra technology. And it kind of wouldn't make sense to make the exact same watch just 1 millimeter bigger without any increased complication or difference in dial. So here you have the Sky-Dweller. Now, the Sky-Dweller has been out for, I want to say, approximately 10 years or so, and they've made many different variations of it. And it's almost a bridge between sports watches and dress watches in the sense that they made the Sky-Dweller with an oyster flex bracelet, a rubber strap, and they made it with a precious metal. They've made it on a Jubilee and an oyster. So they've done a lot of different things to the Sky-Dweller. It almost bridges the gap between sports and dress watches. And also because of the size, I think they're able to do that. Whereas if you just see the regular Datejust 41, they don't do it all in precious metals. If they only do it half in precious metals, they don't offer a bracelet, the strap in rubber, they just do it in steel or steel and gold. That's it. So at any rate, the case here is 42 millimeters, and the case here is 42 millimeters, and that's from the 4 o'clock to the 2 o'clock position. That's the longest distance across the bezel. And it's your standard oyster case. It's a monoblock middle case with a screw-down caseback and a winding crown, and it's made of stainless steel. So let's now talk about the bezel. The bezel is a fluted bidirectional rotable Rolex ring command. Now, this is the only fluted bezel that Rolex makes that has the command ring. And the command ring is used to set the annual calendar that this watch has. So it's pretty interesting because, for example, like on a Patek, you have to push in this pin and use all these little buttons, which means you have to carry an extra tool with you to change the month or the date. On Rolex, they're so smart that they've integrated that into the bezel, so you don't even use any buttons, you just simply turn the ring. I'm not going to show you how to do it here because I do have other videos to show you how to do it, but basically, the fluted bezel can turn. And on top of that, it's also made of 18 karat white gold. So the rest of the watch, like I said, is made of stainless steel, while the bezel, the most iconic part, is made of that white gold. Now, let's talk about the dial here. Now, as I told you in the beginning, it is a green dial, and it's a new color that they just added this year as a part of this new reference. And as a result, the green dial has really shot to the moon in terms of price. It's trading well above retail price because it's a fantastic looking green dial. Now, the blue was selling way above retail for some time, but the blue has been out for about that 10 years. And it is still selling above retail as opposed to the white or the black, but the green one, since it just came out, is very, very hot right now. So this is a mint green dial, and of course it has that classic sunray finish, which means if you turn it in different lights, it turns different colors. Okay, let's move on and talk about the movement and what's new with it. Since we are still talking about the dial, it also, I should point this out, that you see it has these little boxes here at the hour markers. When the red dot is at the hour marker, that signifies the month. 12 years in a month, 12 hour markers. So for example, it's here at 9 o'clock, that means it's September. Make sense? But this watch also has something else that's very interesting. It has a GMT function on it. And you see the triangle in the center of it? That triangle points to the 24-hour time in a second time zone. So it's a very useful watch. For example, say you're in the USA, you can always check the time in Europe or Asia and find out what time it is there. Let's say you have work or family there. You can know what time it is over there just at a quick glance at your watch. And they also wisely integrated this into the second ring, which I think it looks great. Most other companies would integrate it on a fourth hand, which is not bad, but it can get a little confusing. This is just a very elegant way to use those three hands, the hour, the minute, and the second, but at the same time be able to still tell the time in a second time zone. And I'm not really surprised that Rolex has done this. They do very innovative things, but also keeping it very simple. And when you just look at it, you think, well, yeah, that makes sense. Of course, you should handle a GMT system like that. All right, and that is the dial. Actually, there's one more thing. Let me shine a light on it, and you can see that these hour markers are luminescent, which means, well, that means you can read the watch at night. Before the Sky-Dweller first came out, it had Roman numerals, which were very difficult to read. And thankfully, they got rid of those in favor for the index markers, which now obviously are very easy to read, and I'm quite a big fan of it. And I think Rolex had decided that they were going to stick with these index markers, which gives it a very clean look. The Roman is just a little cluttered and, like I said, difficult to read. So now, finally, let's talk about the bracelet. Let's talk about the movement. The movement is a caliber 9002. It used to be a 9001, if I'm not mistaken. It does have that slight change in it. It is still precise to plus or minus 2 seconds a day, but now it has a power reserve of 72 hours as opposed to the older one, which I believe was around 48. Which just means that they made this movement much more efficient. And you can't see it anyway, so there's not really much else to say other than it lasts longer and it's better. Okay, the bracelet is a Jubilee bracelet. They also make this watch in an oyster, like I mentioned earlier. The Jubilee is a 5-piece link across. The clasp is a folding oyster clasp with Easy Link 5mm comfort extension. That just means that you can change the length of the bracelets just by pulling on this comfort extension, and you can change it by 5mm. And for those of you who actually wear watches on a regular basis, you will know that that actually is very useful to change it just by a few millimeters every day. For example, in the morning when you haven't had a drink of anything yet, your wrist will be a bit smaller. In the evening, it'll be a bit larger. Or if you're on an airplane or if it's hot and sweaty, you might need that extra 5mm. And this is a great way to do it without having to change it with any tools. Okay. Let's finish this off and let me try it on my wrist. Now I am 6 feet tall, 200 pounds, and you can see that this 42mm looks amazing on me. And my thoughts are that, well, the Sky-Dweller is the complicated watch that Rolex is making now. And it's inspired from their Datejust line. And the Datejust line is probably the most iconic line of dressed watches that Rolex makes. Not probably, it is. They've heavily invested in it, and almost all of their watches look like the Datejust. Or at least they are Datejusts with some variation in them. And like I mentioned, this is just a more complicated version of that Datejust. And I might also add that the dial color, at least of this moment, is the hardest to get. It's the fewest made as of this point, meaning it's more desirable. and it makes the watch really stand out. So if you're one of those who are looking for a watch that is the Rolex pinnacle of most complicated watches along with the rarity, then you cannot beat this watch. So if you do want to buy it at the lowest price available online, click the link in the description below and buy it at jazztime.com.
If you want to find out more about the watch you just saw in the video, you can just click below on Show More to see the full description. Then you can check the link next to Model as seen in video, click on it and you will get to the proper page where you can see all the details. If you're watching on a mobile phone, you have to click on the arrow down on the right hand side below the video to see the full description. If you like this video, please give us a thumbs up. If you would like to share this video with your friends, you can use the share button below and share it on any platform you like. If you have questions, constructive feedback, want to tell us about some mistakes or misspeaks, just write a comment below. If you want to see more videos like this, you should subscribe to our channel and visit our channel page where you can find all the videos. And if you're interested in a specific watch brand, you can check out our playlists. If you want to check the price for a watch or want to buy one, remember at jazztime.com you always get a steep discount, so you should check the prices with us. If you want to know the price for a specific watch, just go to Google, type in JazzTime, plus the brand, model and the details you're interested in, and Google will find the right page for you. Thank you for watching.